Hello everyone and welcome back to our series on process planning and cost estimation. In this session, we will explore the step-by-step cost estimation procedure, looking deeply into the objectives and methods of costing or cost accounting, and learn how industrial costs are systematically classified. So let's start with the structured procedure for cost estimation, which we will break down across the next three slides. Step 1, we must thoroughly understand the requirements by reviewing the cost estimation request. Step 2, we analyze the product specification, functions and materials. Step 3, we prepare a detailed bill of materials or BOM. And step 4, we make a make or buy decision establishing which components to manufacture in-house or versus which to outsource. And step 5, we calculate our raw material cost using the formula. Material cost is equal to weight of the material into material cost per unit weight. So following this, we determine purchased parts cost and plan out our specific manufacturing processing steps for our in-house components. Next, moving into the operational calculations. Step 8, we calculate the machining time required for each manufacturing step. From there, we determine the direct labor cost by multiplying the total operation time by the labor wage rate. Direct labor cost is equal to total operation time into labor wage rate. Then this allows us to find out the prime cost by adding together direct labor, direct material and direct expenses. So prime cost is equal to the sum of the direct labor cost plus direct material cost plus direct expenses. Finally, we factor in factory overheads, which accounts for indirect costs like utilities, maintenance and machine depreciation, followed by administrative expenses like office operations and management salaries. So to conclude the procedure, we add selling and distribution expenses such as marketing and transportation. This gives us the total cost, summing up all direct and indirect expenses. So total cost is equal to the summation of the prime cost plus factory overheads plus administrative expenses plus selling and distribution expenses. So the final step is to coordinate with the production and sales teams to accurately estimate the delivery time of the customer. So before that, we have to estimate the selling price. Selling price is equal to total cost plus profit. Now the next we are going to discuss on costing. Costing is also referred to as cost accounting. So unlike estimation, costing focuses on determining the actual cost of a product by evaluating real expenses incurred across all active departments. So it provides a systematic ledger recording every single expenses on the floor. As the renowned industrial writer Weldon puts it, costing is the proper classifying and allocating of expenditure for determining the cost of products or services. It is a vital management feedback loop that details records based on materials, labor and indirect expenses. So objectives of costing or cost accounting. Why do we keep these meticulous historical records? First and foremost, for cost determination, knowing precisely what production cost us. It ensures we fix the correct selling price, allows managers to step in for cost control to prevent overspending, and serves as an audit mechanism to compare actual cost against our original estimation. It also helps guide long-term make or buy decisions, actively pinpoints and reducing the waste, and helps us to evaluate design modification and to improve the cost efficiency. Expanding on those objectives, cost accounting plays a key strategic role in market positioning. So it guides the management on how much of commercial discount can be safely offered without hurting the margins. So it forms the baseline data for preparing annual corporate budgets and winning competitive tenders. It also serves as a legal purpose by ensuring compliance with regulatory cost auditing provisions and aids capital budgeting decisions when purchasing major assets like new machinery or plants. So now we will move on to the difference between cost estimation and cost accounting. So this slide outlines the critical distinctions between cost estimation and cost accounting. Let's look at the key contrasts. Timing. Estimation is done before production starts, whereas costing is recorded during or after production. Objectives and purpose. Estimation predicts cost of bidding and pricing, whereas costing records actual expenditures for control and post-production profitability analysis. Data source. So estimation relies heavily on assumptions, past data and market trends, whereas costing deals strictly with the concrete real-world expenses incurred. Flexibility. Estimated values are highly flexible and adjust to shifting market conditions, whereas costing values are fixed historical records of real expenses. Moving on to methods of costing or cost accounting. So different industries require different costing frameworks. Let's look at the primary methods used. First one is job costing. It is used for unique custom contracts where costs are tracked on a daily cost sheet for a specific order. So think of shipbuilding or custom fabrication. Second one is a batch costing, a variation of job costing where an entire group of identical items is treated as a single batch, which is common in mass production. Then the third one is process costing. It is applied where a standard product moves through sequential continuous process such as oil refining, chemical plants or paper mills with cost tracked at each distinct stage. Then continuing with our methods, the fourth one is departmental costing, which allocates expenses separately to individual departments within multi-department industries like steel mills or automobile assembly plants. Operating costing, which used specifically for service-based industries like railways, transport or electricity utilities, where costs are determined per unit of service like cost per kilometer or cost per kilowatt hour. So we also have the unit cost method for single product environments like mines or quarries, and the multiple cost methods which blends several costing approaches for highly complex products like automobiles. Then classification of cost. Now let us discuss how costs are classified. We can categorize cost based on several viewpoints. Based on elements, this divides cost into material, labor and overheads. Based on the function, this looks at the purpose, distinguishing between production cost, administrative cost and selling or marketing costs. Based on variability, this tracks cost behavior related to production volume. Then fixed costs like rent stay the same regardless of the volume, and variable costs like raw materials scale directly with the production. Semi-variable costs like electricity contain both fixed and variable elements. Continuing with the classification of cost, additionally we can classify cost by the traceability and accounting nature. So direct versus indirect. Direct cost can be traceably linked to a specific product like raw materials or direct operator wages. Indirect costs cannot be directly linked, such as factory rent or general supervisor salaries. Then capital versus revenue. Capital costs represent long-term investment in assets like machinery and building, while revenue costs represents the day-to-day operational expenses needed to keep the facility running. Then elements versus component of cost. Before we look at our final slides, let's clarify an important distinction that often confuses students: elements versus components of the cost. So think of it this way. So elements represent what the money is spent on, namely material, labor and overheads. On the other hand, components represent how the cost is built structurally from an accounting standpoint, such as prime cost, factory cost and total cost. Now moving on to the elements of cost. To ground the concept of element of cost, let's use a simple example: manufacturing of a wooden chair. So the physical wood represents the material cost, the carpenter's directly hourly wages represents the labor cost, and the factory's monthly electricity bill represents the overhead cost. So together these three broad categories tell us exactly what our capital is spent on. So finally, let's look at the components which show us how the cost is structurally layered. First, we have the prime cost, which is the sum of direct materials, direct labor and direct expenses. Next, adding factory overheads like machine maintenance or depreciation to our prime cost, which gives us the factory cost. Finally, by taking the factory cost and adding administrative, selling and distribution overheads, we arrive at our total cost of production. So this structural breakdown provides a clear accounting perspective on our manufacturing operations. So example for manufacturing business like direct cost, raw material, wages and machine operators, factory overheads like rent, maintenance and depreciation of machines, selling and distribution overheads like advertisement and transportation. So the components of cost is equal to how the cost is structured like primary cost, prime cost, factory cost and total cost. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will see you all in the next lecture. Thank you.